got a little taste of it there, but give us a little bit more background about Last Scene at the Dome.
Well, first of all, I'm not a filmmaker, and this was actually supposed to be a home video that I was going to capture for myself, really because I wanted to be able to express my feelings for my grandmother and what she did for me, and something I could give to my son later. When he asked me, what are these seeds for? What does it mean? I would be able to give that video to him and explain to him what it meant. And I gave it to I talked about my grandmother, and I remember that vividly. Anybody remember back in the 80s, those old rotary phones? Yeah. That they were coming in 4 colors, you know, black, brown, mustard yellow, and green, or something like that. We had the mustard yellow wall phone. I remember that vividly because my mother was talking about how she only had enough money to either pay for a car to get us back and forth to school and work, or to pay for our air conditioner that went out. And she said, "We'll put Matt on the phone." And she put me on the phone, and she said, "Matt, is it hot there?" And I was in Dallas, and I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "Why don't you come down to Houston, and I'll take you to the biggest air conditioner in the world."
Matthew, so I know in our conversations you mentioned that you got quite a bit of media coverage. I guess tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, so since it was supposed to be just a film for me. Once I interviewed these people, I had an audience of 3, right, at least, and I knew I had to make it good because I was obligated to make it good for them, and it got big. Anybody knows about digital film, files and stuff like that? It got so big you couldn't just email it. So I put it on YouTube, and as soon as it went on YouTube, pow, it just blew up. People were sharing it and going all over the place, and the media went crazy. And that's actually where I got the inspiration to even submit it as a film, was because several of the media said, "Are you going to submit it?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not a filmmaker." And but it ended up being something that I decided I was inspired to do so, and it's won 4 festival film, selections, and so I'm humbled by that because we do. And but now it's the thing that's probably the most humbling is when somebody comes to me who's passionate about tearing the Astrodome down and says, "I am so glad I saw your film because I see the facts now, and I see how significant the Astrodome is, and it's made me change my mind and reconsider preserving the Astrodome." So I remember several times I was in the Navy, I'd go around and I'd talk to people and say, "Well, from Texas," and they'd go, oh, the Dallas Cowboys," and then they would go, the Astrodome, and then I would just spend the next 20 minutes explaining to them that the Dallas Cowboys do not play in the Astrodome. But either way, it was that iconic, and it is still to this day iconic. And even if I encourage you all to go on Google Maps and scroll down and see if it calls NRG Park or Reliant Park what it is. It doesn't. It calls the Astrodome. It's still that significant.
What's next? I mean, more film festivals, or what do you have planned for the future?
Well, I think the short film festival scene for Last Scene at the Dome is probably ending. But the story kind of scratched the surface, and after hearing those, compliments about, "Wow, I didn't know that about the Astrodome," and started chasing people's eye, that inspired me that, hey, maybe I should make something a little longer. And so we actually committed that we're going to make a longer feature film about the Astrodome's past, present, and future, and talk about the stories that are not always sports related, but the ones that are very, very powerful. You guys may not realize this, but the Astrodome was an integral part of integration in a secret way. It was also something that influenced President Kennedy when he came to visit. He gave this famous rice speech. Everybody remember the famous rice speech, or probably studied about it, where he says, "We choose to go to the moon." You remember that one? We actually, on his actual transcript, it said, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade, not because it's easy, because it's hard." But Judge Hofheinz, the guy that you saw with the cigar, he actually toured him. He was responsible for getting everything done, and he ended up touring him around the construction of the Astrodome right before he went to give that speech. And somehow what ended up happening is when President Kennedy gave that amazing speech, he says,
"We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard."
And those other things that he was probably referring to was the Astrodome. So now we have decided we want to tell those stories. We want to tell them in a way, in an entertaining way, an emotional way, that people were able to really get connected with the Astrodome in a factual-based way, non-biased, because we feel the facts alone will help convince people to save and preserve the Astrodome. We're releasing it at the Astrodome in April of 2015. And so we're in a current fundraiser campaign right now looking to seek people who are willing to help, including you guys.
Thank you very much.